You keep starting that same show again. The one you've already seen so many times you could quote the lines before they happen. Maybe it's The Office. Maybe it's Friends. Could be Harry Potter, could be Gilmore Girls, doesn't matter. What matters is this. You already know every plot twist, every swell of music, every moment where you're supposed to feel something. And yet, you're about to hit play on episode 1. Again. And people act like that's weird. Your family thinks you're broken. Your streaming service has basically given up recommending new stuff because clearly you're not listening. There are 10,000 shows you haven't watched, and you're choosing the one you could recite in your sleep. But something is happening in your brain right now that almost nobody talks about. And once you see it, your comfort show addiction starts looking a lot less like a flaw and a lot more like a nervous system doing its job. Because no, you're not lazy. You're not boring. You're not afraid of change. You're doing something smarter than you think. Let's get real for a second. Why would any reasonable person watch something when they already know what happens? You know Michael Scott's going to say something wildly inappropriate. You know Ross and Rachel end up together. You know exactly which scene in Toy Story 3 is going to wreck you, and you're going to watch it anyway and cry like it's the first time. On paper, that makes no sense. Stories are supposed to be about suspense, about not knowing what comes next. So what are you actually doing? Here's the part nobody tells you. Your brain isn't always looking for surprises. Not when you've already made 600 decisions today. Not when your nervous system is running on fumes. Not when the world outside feels like it's held together with duct tape and broken promises. When you rewatch that same show, you're not searching for new information. You're wrapping yourself in certainty. And in a life that refuses to be predictable, that's not weakness. That's survival. Psychologists have a term for part of this, the mere exposure effect. The name sounds boring, but the idea is simple. Your brain tends to like things more the more familiar they become. Not because you're basic, because familiar usually feels safer. And that's why you can feel more emotionally connected to characters from a sitcom that ended 15 years ago than you do to half the people in your actual life. Think about your comfort show, the one that lives rent-free in your brain. When you watch it, you're not on the edge of your seat. You know what happens. And that's the point. It's like you're building a cognitive safe house. Every episode is a brick. Every rewatch makes the walls thicker. Your boss sent you that vague email today that could mean nothing, or could mean your job is about to implode. You don't know. But you do know that in 22 minutes, the conflict in this episode resolves. Someone learns something. The music plays. It's okay. Or maybe your bills are doing that fun thing where they keep existing and multiplying. At least Chandler and Monica end up happy. At least someone gets an ending you can count on. Or maybe someone in your life just revealed a personality trait that's testing every ounce of your patience. And you need to escape into a world where people are predictably flawed in ways you've already forgiven. And here's a reason that's weirdly comforting. Rewatching makes your brain work less. I know that sounds like an insult. It's not. It's the appeal. When you watch something new, your brain goes into full detective mode. Who's that character? Why did they frame the shot like that? Is that line going to matter later, or am I overanalyzing a random coffee cup? Where's this going? Your brain is sprinting. But rewatching? That's cognitive cruise control. Researchers have found people often rewatch because it restores a sense of control. Because you already know what emotional punches are coming. No surprise character deaths that ruin your week. No twists that make you feel stupid for not seeing them. You already survived the emotional damage the first time. Now you're just visiting. Like going back to your hometown. You know which streets to avoid. You know where the good memories are. You can relax. But here's the twist. You're not actually experiencing the same thing twice. Yeah, it's the same episode. Same actors. Same jokes. Same awkward pauses. But you're different now. Watching The Lion King as a kid, you're Simba, running away, scared of responsibility. Watching it in your 20s, you're suddenly Mufasa, suddenly aware that time is real and everything ends. Watching it later, you're crying in the first 10 minutes because you finally understand what he meant about legacy. About the circle. About how fast it all goes. Same movie. Different you. New pain. New understanding. The Matrix isn't just cool bullet time anymore. It's an uncomfortable mirror showing you every time you chose comfort over truth. The Breakfast Club isn't just nostalgia. It's a reminder of the person you were before you learned to hide. Same story, but you brought different wounds to it this time, and somehow that makes it new. But there's another layer people don't talk about enough. The social one. The human one. Think about when you first watched your favorite show. Maybe you watched it with your sister every week, before everything got complicated. Maybe you and your college roommate had a tradition. Maybe your ex introduced you to it, and even though they're gone, the show stayed. These stories become time capsules. When you rewatch, you're not just watching the show. You're visiting a previous version of yourself. You're sitting with the person you were when these characters first mattered. And sometimes, if we're being honest, you're keeping someone close. The friend who moved away. The parent who's gone. The relationship that ended. Because in that show, they still exist. Laughing at the same jokes. Crying at the same scenes. Rewatching isn't just comfort. It's memory. It's love. It's a way of not letting go when you're not ready to. Okay, deep breath. Let's come back to something simpler, something immediate. Sometimes you rewatch because you're just too tired to make another decision. That's it. That's the answer. Decision fatigue is real, and you've made about 7,000 choices today. What to eat. What to wear. Which emails to answer. What tone to use in that text. Whether to speak up in that meeting. Whether to let it go or say something. Choosing a new show is just one more decision. And what if it's bad? What if you invest 3 episodes and hate it? What if it gets canceled on a cliffhanger? What if everyone says it's brilliant and you think it's garbage and now you feel broken and out of touch? Or, you could just put on Good Will Hunting for the 30th time and cry at the "it's not your fault" scene like a well-adjusted human being. Zero risk. Maximum comfort. Peak efficiency. Your brain is conserving energy for decisions that actually matter. And finally, the part that might make you feel seen or slightly called out, rewatching is emotional regulation. It's self-soothing. When the world feels like chaos, when doesn't it, you need something stable. A place where the good guys win. Where the jokes land. Where things resolve in 90 minutes or 22 minutes, or however long it takes to remember that endings can make sense. Therapists have pointed out that familiar, predictable content can help lower anxiety for some people. Because it gives you a sense of control when everything else feels random and cruel. It's a weighted blanket for your brain. Predictable emotional beats. Safe sadness. Controlled crying during that one scene that destroys you every single time. But you know it's coming, so you can brace for it. And that changes everything. You're not running from life. You're actively choosing peace. You're choosing a feeling you can name. And in a world that constantly surprises you in the worst ways, that isn't avoidance. That's wisdom. So the next time someone judges you for watching Pride and Prejudice for the 18th time, you can tell them the truth. Your brain is using familiarity to create stability, regulate stress, and feel safe enough to breathe. You're building a little sanctuary in a world that keeps trying to burn your safe spaces down. Or, you can just tell them to mind their business. That also works. Look, new shows are great. Discovering stories for the first time matters. But there's nothing wrong with returning to the stories that shaped you. The ones that were there when you needed them. The ones that make you laugh at jokes you've heard 40 times. Because the joke isn't the point anymore. The familiarity is the point. The safety is the point. The ones that make you cry even though you know it's coming, because sometimes you need to cry. And you need to know you'll be okay afterward. Your comfort show isn't a crutch. It's a companion. It's proof that you survived before, and you'll survive again. A little piece of consistency in a world that refuses to stay still. It's the friend who never leaves. The story that never changes its mind about you. You're not stuck in the past. You're honoring what got you through. You're keeping the lights on in the places that felt like home when nowhere else did. And that's not something to apologize for. That's something to protect. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a date with the same show I've watched 19 times. And I regret absolutely nothing. If this made you feel less alone, hit subscribe. This channel exists to explain human behavior in ways that actually make sense. No jargon, no judgment. Just real talk about why we do what we do. I'll see you in the next one.